Resident Evil Requiem already looks good, but if you're on RDNA2 or RDNA3, the stock options leave a lot of quality on the table. In a few minutes, I'm going to show you how to get FSR4 running with the latest OptiScaler 0.9.1 and clean this whole thing up the easy way. Hey guys, welcome back to GeekJ, where we make tech tutorials and gaming simpler and better. In this video, we're building a simple Resident Evil Requiem optimization guide around AMD hardware mostly, specifically RDNA2 and RDNA3. And if you're on older NVIDIA cards like RTX 4000, 3000, and in some cases 2000, you might see benefits. The goal is not to spend 10 years buried in menus. The goal is to get a cleaner image, keep the game responsive, and use the latest OptiScaler stable release to make the setup as painless as possible. Before we touch on the game, I want to very quickly call out the OptiScaler 0.9.1 update because it fixes a bunch of issues from the previous release and ships some real quality of life improvements we are going to take advantage of in this specific guide. So yeah, I've taken the extra time to create this really nice looking, hopefully, presentation for all of us. And if you like it, make sure you leave a thumbs up in this video because it does take time and effort to create these. But yeah, anyway, this is the changelog, what in my opinion is the most important parts of it and what changed and why it matters for this guide. So we have bug fixes, a smarter sharpening mode, and updated SDKs across the board, all in one stable release. So it's pretty cool. Let's go over all of these that I have, jotted down over here for all of us. And basically the critical bug fixes, it fixed the self-expanding overlay that kept claiming more screen space that it needed, which was a pretty annoying issue, but it wasn't like breaking anything. You just had to move the whole OptiScaler UI window if you accidentally clicked on an option that overexpanded it. It also fixes VSync freezes and crashes when using the XEFG frame generation in some games. We have workaround for FSR4.1 destroying Vulkan objects, and it was causing overlay crashes. And it was very prominent on Linux setups like, the Steam Deck. Fixed DLSS not working in some DirectX 11 games, so older titles should behave again. Fixed FSR4 model selection when the driver upgrade DLL is missing, plus a menu indicator when hooking fails. But yeah, these are basically the critical fixes, in my opinion, that make the difference between a smooth session and frustrating troubleshooting, steps all the time, and it puts you on a loop. So these are the major fixes, in my opinion. Then we have the depth-aware RCAS sharpening. It's kind of a smarter sharpening, and it focuses on edges instead of sharpening everything equally. And this means less artifacting. It's somewhat heavier on performance, and that is the trade-off. But if you're on mediocre or above hardware, especially on the GPU side, you're going to be fine. You're not going to see a huge difference. We enable the RCAS DA in the sharpening session, and then we can select the use depth aware to activate the new mode, and it deactivates the old mode. So it's either or, we cannot have both of them enabled at the same time. We have an updated bundle, so 0.9.1 final is signed. That means peace of mind, we don't need to allow stuff and Windows will not bother us. Also, FFX 2.2 SDK ships with FSR 4.1 and FSR frame generation 4 out of the box, so that is pretty cool. XSS 3.0.1 SDK and minor bug fixes over the previous 3 release are included. Fake NVAPI 1.4.1 which basically adds fixes to XCLL hanging on shutdown, especially on Linux. And we have the Nukem's DLSS G to FSR 0.130 latest frame generation bridge. And FSR4 int 8 is not bundled in this build, which kind of makes sense. So we need to grab it still, and that's going to be easy because, as you know, we're going to be using OptiScaler-Client, which is another open source project. We have a lot of Linux stability improvements, so if you're on a Steam Deck, this is going to be very beneficial for you. We get some improved extension spoofing fixes, and that kind of kills the divisors on Linux for Pascal GPU users and some Vulkan with DX12 issues. We also get a prevent measure for a deadlock when using Vulkan with DirectX 12. We have default log level that is now 0, so you will not get massive true.log files filling up your game folders, which was an issue before. Hotfix improvements and fixes for cleaner frame generation overlays. We have updated but uninstaller. It now locates renamed OptiScaler.dll files and deletes them. And we have game-specific quirks for DCS World, Pragmata, Dead Island 2, and Solstice. So, yeah. Some of the reasons this helps specifically with Resident Evil 9 Requiem. We have overlay stability, so the self-expanding overlay and Vulkan crash fixes mean the in-game menu actually stays usable. FSR4.1 out of the box, so the FFX 2.2 SDK bundle means we can get the latest upscaler quality without hunting for separate files. Not really beneficial for us specifically that use RDNA2 and RDNA3 hardware, but for anyone on newer hardware, this is going to be a big benefit. And of course, we get the cleaner install flow, even if we were using the default BUT file, or now that we're going to be using for this specific guide OptiScaler-Client. Because the build is again signed, it's a lot more easy and reliable to actually install it. So now let us get a baseline. I am playing the opening section at 1080p with maxed out graphics, including ray tracing, while keeping motion blur, lens effects, and distortions disabled because I hate them, and they do not help clarity anyway. They just make the game look weirder or uglier in my opinion, and lower quality for no reason. So anyway, if we go through the options over here, I'm gonna switch to the graphics tab, and as you can see, we are on borderless window. This monitor is a 1080p 165 Hz monitor, and everything is kind of the default, but we care about the image section over here, so you can see specs of my computer over here. If you want more details on that, you can find them in the description below. You can even see the driver version I am using, which is the latest AMD driver available as of the filming of this video, of course. Also, keep in mind, disclaimer again, I'm going to be recording using OBS, and that takes away from performance partially, so just add 10 to 15 FPS to the numbers you see most of the time. That is the case, and if I see a bigger difference or smaller difference, I'm gonna make sure to mention it in the video. And I have chosen the variable frame rate. Motion blur is off, as mentioned before. You can see ray tracing high, hair strands on, and then we're gonna go with custom everything. And as you can see, I have the maximum option selected for almost everything except for, as you can see over here, lens distortion, which the first one will do lens distortion by itself, and then it's gonna do lens distortion plus chromatic aberration, which is even worse, as you can see on the results over here. So I'm just gonna disable both of them to get the clearest image possible. Then for upscaling technology, we're not going to use that. We're using TAA anti-aliasing, and all of the other technologies are going to stay off. And other than that, I think we are using everything else on the maxed out option available in this game. So let's go on ahead. So yeah, this is everything maxed out. As you can see, we are staying above 60 FPS mostly, and this is the opening scene. And we can turn the camera around. This is a bit lighter, and if we look on ahead, it's a bit heavier. And this is using no upscaling and no frame generation whatsoever. So let's go a little bit back and forth over here. But yeah, we are staying above 60 FPS, but just barely. And usually in this scene, without recording with OBS, I would usually get, I think, around 70 FPS instead of the average 60. So yeah, as you can see, even though we are using TAA and no upscaling at all, we do get a lot of jagginess and image instability. We get some shimmering, and yeah, it's not that great, but it does look sharp. So let's go into options, graphics, image, and let's see what other options we have. As you can see, we are offered AMD FSR1 and then AMD FSR 3.1.5 because we are on unsupported hardware for FSR4 or 4.1. The game does come bundled with the latest FSR 4.1 binary, but that binary will default to 3.1.5 for hardware that is not RDNA4. So we are stuck basically to either AMD FSR1 or 3.1.5. So let's test AMD FSR1. I don't know why this exists basically, but it is an option. We can go with ultra quality, quality, balance, or performance. Let's go with quality because I think that all of the upscalers we're going to test have quality, but they don't have ultra quality, but I'm not sure. So let's go with a sure bet of quality. Someone is pushing us. Okay. So we did bump up to about 90, 89, 90 FPS, and the game looks a little bit smoother or blurrier, I have to say, especially in distance. And you can see when we move the camera, there is instability. I don't know if that is apparent through the YouTube video, but that is the case for me while playing the game. And it does get a little bit ghosty around here. Okay, let's do the little back and forth. You can see the lettering on the sign is unstable and less clear, a lot less sharp. The rain kind of became specks of pixels, not very clear. And when we move the camera or the character, pixelation is a problem, as you can see around here. But we did gain a lot of frames per second over here, a lot of instability in the shadows, because the shadows, even without the upscaling, were lower resolution in general. So yeah, this is kind of the issues we're going to have with FSR1 in general. So let's go back to the starting point, graphics, image, advanced settings, and let's try out FSR 3.1.5, and we're going to go with quality. Okay, we are using FSR 3.1.5. This is an improvement, especially for how sharp the image looks on quality. And yeah, we're at about the same frames per second as FSR1 was, but the image looks a lot sharper, a lot better. The instability in the shadows looks a little bit better, and the pixelation, but the pixel shimmering is still there. Rain kind of disappears with FSR 3.1 in general. If there is a light source directly hitting the rain particles and the background is not messing with it in any other way, we will still be able to see the rain. But other than that, it kind of disappears, and it is a problem in many games, including Cyberpunk 2077. If you've ever checked those videos out, I have a whole series with Cyberpunk 2077, and we were testing FSR 3.1.5. XeSS was my go-to solution for a long time because of these issues, and once FSR4 was available, we were switching to that. But yeah, unfortunately, as you can see over here, the rain is kind of transparent, even though it's obvious that it is raining heavily if we turn around the camera and see where the particles are hitting the light over here. Other than that, yeah, the pixels are sometimes unstable. We can see yeah, big problem with the rain. We don't see that much of a jaggy mess when we're moving around the camera, as you can see over here, or the character. This is an improvement over FSR1, so 3.1.5, as you can see on the cables over here. When looking up on the sky, we get a really nice upgrade there. But other than that, the font and lettering in a lot of these signs and stuff looks very, very sharp. We have no blurriness issues. So now let's go back into AMD FSR1, and we're going to go with performance, so we can see the difference between FSR1, FSR 3.1.5, and then we're going to test FSR4. Let's start with FSR1 performance. We're going to go back into the game. As you can see, we didn't gain a lot of frames over here, but the game does look significantly worse. Everything is just a blurry mess. In the distance, the buildings look horrible. The text, even the text really close to us, looks extremely blurry, and we cannot really read it anymore, even if we are studying steel. But yeah, it's kind of expected. We still get more rain than we had before with FSR 3.1.5, and we are getting around 100 FPS, 110 FPS. If we weren't recording, it wouldn't be that big of a difference, even still. But yeah, you can see here we are at around 120, 115, 120 FPS. It depends on how many NPCs are on screen and how close they are to us and all that stuff. But anyway, let's test out FSR 3.1.5 now. 3.1.5 performance. So yeah, the image looks very, very blurry again. We don't get that big of a performance uplift, even though there's a lot less NPCs over here. But it is more stable, and it does do a better job with the text that is close to us. Everything that is far away from us is not looking that great. We get a lot of pixel instability, and the rain is completely gone now. Like if we watch straight ahead, we get a tiny bit of particles showing, but other than that, everything else is kind of gone. It does look a little bit more stable than FSR1, but other than that, it is blurry, and everything in the distance is kind of flickering and is not a great showing. If I was in a very low-end system, I'd probably go for balanced or quality, because as you can see, we don't get a lot of performance uplift either way. So we do lose a lot in visual quality, but other than that, we don't get a performance uplift because there are diminishing returns even with FSR 3 or even FSR 1, because it is trying to upscale from a very low resolution image like 360p or 480p, and it's trying to upscale that to 1080p. So hardware needs to work harder to achieve that. So let's go ahead and disable all upscaling technologies, and then we're gonna leave everything else on the defaults, and we're going to quit out of the game. So yeah, in general, We've seen this story before, that's why I just brush over, you know, the built-in upscalers, especially FSR1, because for some insane reason they have included that upscaler. I don't know the reason. But yeah, if you're on RDNA4, basically the game can expose the built-in FSR4 or 4.1, but for everyone else, we are looking at FSR 3.115, and yeah, for some insane reason, as I said before, FSR1 is still hanging around in the menu and it looks pretty horrible. So yeah, we already know how this goes. FSR 3.115 is fine for, you know, quality or balanced kind of options. And then we are losing a lot of details. We get the shimmer, we get the instability, and yeah, we lose rain particles completely. It has issues with transparency and all that stuff we already know. So let's not waste any more time on the boring stuff. We are jumping straight to the better solution. So first of all, before we start doing anything with OptiScaler, I really like to update the in-game built-in upscaler binaries. So we're going to use another tool we love in GeekJ, which is DLSS-Swapper. I'm going to double click on this, find my game, click on it, and then I'm going to upgrade from 3.10.3 to 3.10.6, which is the latest version for DLSS, and I'm going to do that for the ray reconstruction binary and for the frame generation binary as well. As you can see, none of the other binaries are present for some reason, so we're gonna close out of this one and we're basically done with DLSS-Swapper. And then we're gonna move to OptiScaler-Client. So if you guys want to download these tools, you can find the links in the description, you know where, below. Let's run OptiScaler-Client over here. I'm gonna scroll down, find my game. And for this game, I suggest we use manage instead of the quick install. And this is going to depend on the hardware you have, because quick install could work. But if you are on RDNA2 or RDNA3, I would suggest clicking manage, and then we're going to select the latest version, which is the 0.9.1 latest. Then we're going to select the FSR4 int 8 version from this drop-down menu over here, the 4.0.2c, which is the latest. We are gonna leave the injection at dxgi.dll. We are gonna leave OptiPatcher at rolling latest over here, and then we're not gonna mess with the profile. And I am going to select both the fake NV API and Nukem FG. You might get a pop-up for Nukem FG if the OptiScaler-Client cannot find this DLL. You can download it from the prompt, because it will give you a little link that goes to the Nexus mods page where you can download it, or you can extract it from the OptiScaler zip file if you've downloaded that independently from their official GitHub page. But anyway, we can click auto install over here, and as you can see, it is prompting me to point to the correct location of the downloaded file. So I'm gonna point it to the correct location over here. I'm gonna click browse, select the file it is looking for, and I'm gonna confirm. And as you can see, it has successfully installed OptiScaler 0.9.1. It has the latest binaries for DLSS, FSR, and we do get basically Nukem FG and FSR4 int 8 mod from the OptiScaler team. So we are basically good to go. We're gonna exit out of this one. And yeah, basically OptiScaler-Client did all the heavy lifting for us, but we do have to be careful on what options we select. So now that that is done, we can basically launch our game. As you can see on the bottom left, we do get the OptiScaler pop-up, so that means it has installed correctly. So now that OptiScaler is in place, we're gonna head into the in-game graphics options. So options, graphics, image. We're gonna scroll down, advanced, and from the app scaling technology, we're going to select the DLSS app scaler as our input. upscaling mode, we're gonna go to quality and we're gonna leave everything else as is. And remember, this does not magically give AMD cards real DLSS. It gives OptiScaler the path it needs so we can inject the upscaler we actually want. Okay, let's go back to new game. And now that we've jumped in game, we're gonna open up the OptiScaler overlay and we're gonna see that it is using XeSS 2.0.2. And what we can do is select the upscaler we need. If you want, you can keep using XeSS, but it is pixely, as you can see on the cables up there. Performance-wise, it is okay-ish, but we do get a lot of simmering and instability in the image. And for some reason, the rain is gone, even with XeSS in this game. So let's see how FSR4 does. So we're gonna press the insert key on our keyboard. We're gonna select FSR3.x and then click on this change upscaler button over here. And as you can see, the input is DLSS, but we are injecting 4.0.2c, and this is our upscaler. And then I'm going to uncheck the use FSR input values over here, save INI and close. So if you are on RDNA2 or 3, you're going to see the FSR 4.0.2c because this is the int8 version, the version that our hardware can actually run. If you're on newer hardware, which means RDNA4 basically, as of the filming of this video, you're going to see FSR 4.1 or later. But yeah, in general, no driver mods, no weird manual juggling, and no messy workaround marathon as we used to be doing before, and it took us a very, very long time. So yeah, the very big win that we can see over here is that we have our particles back and a lot better image stability, as you can see. And just to prove to you this is running on quality, you can see on the bottom left it says 1280 by 720p, and it's upscaling to 1080p, which is basically upscaling quality to native resolution. And as you can see, it's not only the image stability, but also fine details like the rain hold together much better with FSR 4.0.2. Motion looks cleaner and the whole presentation feels less noisy, less ghosty. And this is a lot better than what we get with the weaker built-in options on older Radeon cards. So yeah, if you want my easy recommendation, stick to DLSS quality as the game side input. Leave motion blur and other cinematic junk disabled, like lens distortion and all that crap. And only start lowering things further if you're specifically chasing extra frames with ray tracing still maxed out. But I wouldn't suggest going below balanced, especially on 1080p resolutions. Now, in regards to the new sharpening options that are offered in OptiScaler 0.9.1, as you can see in the graphics options over here, we get no sharpening option to adjust, as you can see over here, even if we go to the advanced settings. And I did try to do the override thing, and it doesn't really change anything in game. So it doesn't work for Requiem. Now, the other thing I would suggest we do is basically frame generation. And how we do this is we press insert on our keyboard. As you can see, we are at around 86, 87 FPS on this specific scene, when before we were around 90 FPS. So we did lose a little bit of performance, but we can mitigate that by selecting DLSS-G via Streamline over here, and then we can do XEFG for this game, and then save INI and close. And basically we need to restart the game for this to take effect, so let's go ahead and do that. So now that we have loaded into the main menu of the game, we're going to go back into options, graphics, image. We're going to scroll down, go to advanced, and then over here we can enable frame generation basically, and we're gonna stick with NVIDIA DLSS 2X over here, and we're gonna keep the NVIDIA Reflex low latency on its default setting, which is on now. So we're gonna go back, then we're gonna hit the insert key again, and as you can see over here, it is telling us to restart the game to apply correct XCFG settings. Before we do that, we're gonna check the active checkbox over here, and then we're going to do save INI, close, and then exit out of the game once more, and then we're going to run our game again. And now if we are in the main menu and we want to check if everything is loaded correctly, we're going to hit the insert key, and as you can see, we do get the green font over here that says current streamline FG state is on. And then if we want, we can actually set the limit to whichever value is the best for our setup over here. If you're not sure which is the best value for your setup, you can just click on this VRR frame cap calculator and set as FPS limit, and it's going to do the calculating for you and apply it perfectly. I know what's the best for my monitor and my setup, so I'm gonna leave it at here, 162, then hit the apply limit, then save INI and close. And now I'm gonna create another new game over here and go into the standard modern and wait for it to load. Okay, we're back into our game over here, and as you can see, we are running at around 70 something FPS now as our baseline, and then we are seeing frame generated FPS of 144 to 142, so that is a very nice upgrade from the base 87 we're getting. And the game feels really nice and responsive. I actually do not feel any difference at all. And as you can see, if we press insert on our keyboard, we are using FSR4.0.2c. We are using DLSS via Streamline with XCFG, which I found works best in this game in comparison to the other option, which is the FSR frame generation technology. It is active. We get the green font over here that everything's working correctly, and we are using XCLL, and we don't get any extra latency. Basically, it works perfectly fine. So yeah, this is how the game looks. We do get the rain particles. They're not gone as they were before. Unfortunately, the shadows and their reflections still kind of look unstable, but looking a lot better than before. We get almost perfect image stability at the cables over there. We don't get any ghosting at all whatsoever. Very clear image, as you can see over here. Everything is looking perfect. Okay, and now just to get an apples to apples comparison, let's just switch to performance mode. We're going to go into graphics, image, scroll down, advanced settings, and we're going to switch to performance mode, close. As you can see, we are using the Model 3 upscaling from 540p basically to 1080p. We are using FSR4.0.2c, and of course we are using frame generation as well. And as you can see, the image quality is far superior to any of the other options we tested earlier, and of course we're getting 162 frames per second with frame generation as we're hitting our basically limit we've set for the low latency technology XELL to basically take effect as it should. But yeah, let's go on ahead and do our little run over here. Everything looks really good, very sharp, as you can see around here. Obviously the reflections and shadows remain low resolution because that's how they look even on the native resolution, but everything looks super sharp. As you can see, even the cracks on the wall up there, the cables look very stable. We don't see any staircasing or pixelation effect. And if we look at the other end of the street, it does look pretty amazing for an upscaled image coming from 540p. So yeah, pretty good job. Pretty good job. Thank you very much, OptiScaler team. And of course, thank you, OptiScaler-Client developers as well, for making it so easy. So yeah, if this helped you clean up Resident Evil Requiem on AMD hardware or older Nvidia hardware, smash that like button, subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a GeekJ video. If you want to take it further, consider joining the GeekJ squad for early access and exclusive perks, or drop a super thanks if you're feeling generous. And again, massive shout out to my channel architects, Paris, STR and Kostas Dadi. You're always and forever remain legends. Drop your results in the comments below. What settings are you landing on, and how is FSR4 behaving for you in Resident Evil Requiem? I'm pretty curious. Remember, I read every single one of your comments, and yeah, I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye-bye! Bye! Bye!